Yo, what up? Welcome to Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner in crime, Mr. Adi Wally. We got a big show for you today. We talking about the NBA mid-season awards report and everything. And we got a special guest for that. We got my main man, Chevo Rax, in the building to talk about this. Make sure you go to the YouTube page and subscribe to the Spectator Sport. Go ahead and hit that like. Comment. We do comment back, so go ahead and check it out. Now let's get to it. NBA season 2020-2021 was weird to start off with. There's still no fans in most arenas. Some arenas get 25%, but still no fans. So they came back out playing on the bubble, where some teams didn't play in the bubble and had a long layover. But now we're in the halfway point of the season. And it seems like the teams that are supposed to be good are good, and the teams that are supposed to be bad are bad. But it is a couple teams out there, Chevo, that was kind of disappointing. Give us a couple teams or a team that you thought was disappointing so far this first half of the season.
So looking at it, I looked at the East and the West. And so honestly, the two teams I picked to be in the finals were two of my top disappointing teams, which were the Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets, being that they've fallen from how high they were last season and where they were anticipated to start. However, the team that I selected, since we're doing one team overall, which was the biggest disappointment to me, was actually the Golden State Warriors. I remember our previous take when we started off with the preseason preview. Adi picked them to come out of the West. I picked them.
I picked them to go to the Western Conference.
I'm sorry, to go to the Western Conference Finals. And then I had them as my third seed. And right now, they currently, as they sit, are the 9th seed and out of the playoffs. Now, one of the things that have been affected by this, we expected Steph to come back and for them to have like this big turnaround, them picking up Wiseman, them picking up Oubre, them picking up Wiggins. But one of the things that we've seen is that they haven't been getting a great contribution from their bench. Now, Steph has been killing, putting up numbers. However, when you look at Oubre and Wiggins, they both are struggling. Oubre is averaging 15.5 points a game. Wiggins is averaging 17. Wiseman is has 11.8. And so the only person on the team that's been able to crack the average of 20 points has been Steph Curry. They definitely need more with defensive intensity. There have been talks between Curry and Kerr at the end of the game when they talked to him about them stepping that up. Oubre has been pretty horrific. He's shooting 32% from three. He actually was the first player in NBA to start 0 for 11 or worse from three over 2 games period. And then in January he had a game where he had 8 points and went 4 for 13 and 0 for 6 for threes. So and Wiggins is shooting about 35% from three. So right now I think it's the Warriors that currently sit outside the playoffs, and we were expecting with those additions for them to get back into the playoffs. So
the Warriors have had an up and down season. It'll be 1 minute they'll look good and it'll look like the Warriors, okay, they're gonna do something, and then they go back down. And like you mentioned, they have had some injuries. Adi, what's your most disappointing team for the first half of the NBA?
Well, you know what? I know a lot of people want to give this team the built-in excuse that they're too young and they're in the Western Conference, so difficult in the West. But I'm going with the New Orleans Pelicans, all right? You get last year, Brandon Ingram, he was an all-star and he's putting up damn near identical numbers this year. Zion Williamson in his second year, he's an all-star. They made some trades this past offseason for Bledsoe and the big Steven Adams. You also get Lonzo Ball in his 4th year, the former number 2 overall pick in the draft. And you got J.J. Redick and Josh Hart coming off the bench. But if the play-in tournament started today, the New Orleans Pelicans wouldn't be in it. As the number 11 seed, they have the same record as the OKC Thunder, all right? So they played the Bulls last week, and they was losing about 17 points in the 4th quarter. They made a little comeback, but too little, too late. They lost the game. And versus the Spurs, they was down only 3 points with 2 minutes to go in the game, and there was some pick and roll action between DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl, and Steven Adams and Josh Hart with the double team DeMar DeRozan. But the Pelicans' defensive rotation was very bad, and Jakob Poeltl wide open for the dunk. Stan Van Gundy's Pelicans is the 2nd worst team in the NBA in defensive rating. Maybe they give their 2019 number 9 overall pick Jackson Hayes some more tick. He likes to go in there and get some blocks. He's 6'11". He's a center he's a Texas Longhorn. He's getting a little more tick lately. He had 3 blocks against the Bulls, but they need to figure it out, man. The Pelicans, I'm not giving them any excuses. They got some bad losses against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They lost to the Houston Rockets, Sacramento, OKC, and the Detroit Pistons.
Bulls twice.
Yeah, they got swept by the Bulls. So, you know what? I'm not giving them any excuses. They're the most disappointing team to me.
And Adi, I can't speak to that. We talked about that on our previous show. I actually had the Pelicans ranked as the 10th seed that they might participate in the playoffs. And like you said, they're not even in contention right now, mid-season, to be in that play-in position.
It's just surprising with the Pelicans with Stan Van Gundy, who's always been a good defensive coach, who very smart. Now, he's done wonders for that team offensively, especially for Zion Williams. But defensively, it is a little surprising that they're not. I'm not saying they should be the best defensive team, but they're at least slightly better on defense. You say no built-in excuse. The only excuse I can give, and this is for every team, this just ain't the Pelicans, is not much practice time. Oh. Teams have not been able to practice, so you pretty much, they're learning as the game is being played. And they did lose their best defensive player last year, Drew Holiday. Yeah. So that's something different. But you're right, the Pelicans have been. I thought they'd be better. There's no question about it. I look at 2 teams. I look at the Hawks. I was one that had the Hawks going to the playoffs with Trae Young putting up monster numbers. But they've had injuries to the newly acquired the boy from the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah,
Bogdanovic. Danelio's been
Gallinari.
Yeah, he's been hurt.
Rondo was hurt too.
But Rondo's you got paid. I don't know how much interest Rondo really has just being with the Hawks right now. So in turn, they fired their coach Lloyd Pierce. He's got fired, so something going on. But the biggest disappointment is the Washington Wizards. It's the Washington Wizards. You can talk about them. If you are in the Eastern Conference, let me tell you something about the Eastern Conference. The 5th seed in the Eastern Conference is 18-17. 1 game over 500.
Me and you both picked them to be in the playoffs.
Yes.
I said the Washington Wizards was not making the playoffs.
Well, it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Right.
But you're right. Right now, my pick is looking wrong. And Bradley Beal is leading the league in scoring. But it's not translating to wins. Russell Westbrook is getting his triple-doubles, not translating to wins. So some is off there. I don't know if Scott Brooks might have to go, but something is not right there with the Wizards.
I alluded to them before about not making the improvements to their defense. You had a stat about that defense. Do you remember what it was?
I know last year their defense was piss poor. Yeah. So and they still not.
They're still terrible.
Yeah, they're still terrible on D. So I don't know what they gonna do.
Yeah, so that's crazy. So the Wizards and the Hawks for me, both teams in the East, and with the East so wide open. Like you got the Nets, the 76ers, and who's the other third team?
Oh, the Nets, the 76ers, and the Milwaukee Bucks.
And the Milwaukee, that's it. Those are your 3 shoe-ins, it looks like right now. You would think Boston will get it back. I know Boston is another team that you mentioned earlier that has been struggling, but I kind of expect them as the season go on to kind of pick it up a little bit. But there's no excuse where you got 2 all-star, 1 former MVP, and a leading scorer on the same team, and they're not in the playoff hunt in the Eastern Conference.
And they say Westbrook, he doesn't play in back-to-back games. Y'all hear about that?
Yeah, he doesn't. That's what they would say. Yeah,
I don't get that. What's trying to rest him?
Well, he did have injuries in Houston last year. Remember, he missed a few games going into the
playoffs. He missed the first 2 games.
Yeah, he missed it. So maybe there's something going on with the injury. Whatever it is, they still shouldn't be. They still should be in some type of contention. For at least
we thought they would make the playoffs, and like you said about Boston, we hope they can bounce back. But right now, it looks like that they're outscored by 1 point for every 100 possessions when Brown is off the court, and it gets worse. It's 5.3 points when Tatum is off the court for 100 possessions. So they are lacking a lot of depth.
And
Boston.
Yeah, and then Marcus Smart being out, that's a huge loss right there.
Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
when he comes back, I think they're gonna pick it up.
That was a huge loss. And they need to start. They got to start playing Reggie. They need to start Reggie Williams at center. Stop playing around with Trice and Put the boy at center.
Right now, Washington isn't waiting for Marcus Smart to come back though, so they don't have any hope coming through.
No, it's just they gonna have to find a way to start winning amongst the two superstars on the team. They're gonna have to find a way together to make the others the others with Shaq, like to call them the others to come around.
Right, Hachimura, the Japanese guy.
You got
Avia.
you got to make them better. That's what it is. If they caliber players like that, they should at least be able to get the 8th or 7th seed. There's no question. So let's move on. We talked about the disappointments, Adi. Let's talk about a team that caught you off guard. That I didn't know they was gonna be that good. What's that team for the NBA in the first half of the season?
Well, I'm going with the number 2 team in the NBA, the second best record in the league, the Phoenix Suns.
Ooh,
the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I like it.
Before the season, ESPN and Sports Illustrated had Phoenix ranked as the 14th best team in the league. Bleacher Report had them at 18. And on our Western Conference preview show, I said that I predicted that the Phoenix Suns would be the 8th seed. Roach, you said 7th seed.
Yeah.
And Shovel, you had them out the playoffs.
I did. When I look back, I actually predicted that they would probably be a play-in team. And I do remember saying here that I know that Roach had picked the Suns too to be one of the teams that he thought would be the breakout team. So that was y'all had good foresight with that.
But I mean, not really. I mean, I had them as an 8th seed. You had them as a 7th seed. So we had them like low seed, like kind of barely making the playoffs. So I mean, I ain't bragging. We all lowballed them, and the experts, the big time experts, analysts, lowballed them. But second best record in the NBA, and so it looks like that Chris Paul trade really paid off. He was well worth it. Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, a couple of other guys in the 2022 first round pick. Chris Paul's 8.8 assists per game is number 5 in the NBA. The Phoenix Suns are number 1 in the NBA in percentage of possessions that end in an assist, and they're number 2 in the league in assist to turnover ratio. All right. Now, once again, Devin Booker only made the All-Star team because someone got hurt.
Crazy.
He is the back-to-back first ballot All-Star snub of the year, 2 years in a row. And maybe that's why he's not playing in the All-Star game. You know, he didn't play in the All-Star game. He took himself out, said he was hurt.
Question though, just real question off that. Who would you have took off the All-Star original team of the All-Stars in the Western?
Real quick, CP3.
Okay.
That's it. CP3.
Okay.
I would put Booker over CP3.
I would have too. Okay.
I think he got the nod because he's a veteran and a fan favorite.
And he the one that came to the team and then they started with it. So you got to look at it both ways.
Yeah,
I was agreeing.
So that's what I would have did. But I think Booker's going to use that as motivation. He didn't play in the All-Star game. He said he's not in the 3-point contest, and he's going to use that as motivation and even elevate his game in the second half of this season. And then Phoenix Suns got shooters all over the place. They got the 2018 number 10 overall pick, Mikal Bridges from Villanova. They got Frank the Tank Kaminsky. They got the second-year sharpshooter from North Carolina, Cameron Johnson, and former Miami Heat, Jay Crowder. But Monty Williams, the coach of Monty Williams, he's going to need some more production out of the 2018 number 1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton. Get him ready for big battles against Rudy Gobert, Serge Ibaka, the Joker, Anthony Davis. Because DeAndre Ayton is averaging career lows in shots per game and points per game. Let's get a little bit more from him. Get him ready, and we know CP3 has never made it to the conference finals, right? He never made it to
he made it one time, but that year with Houston, he got hurt.
Oh, okay, so he got hurt, right? Okay.
He got hurt in Game 5. So against Golden State, that was the only time that the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant was in trouble. Only time.
So I know he's trying to. He made it once. He's trying to make it for the second time. And the Phoenix Suns, they about to end their 10-year playoff drought. They in there. So I say Phoenix Suns the most surprised.
I think they really benefiting from like defensive intensity from off-season acquisitions like CP3 and Jay Crowder. And right now I did see that they were holding teams to about 106 points a game. And also, people might not know they're one of the teams that actually all 5 of their starting 5 is averaging in double figures right now. So they were scoring and playing defense, so that's what's helping them get to that spot. So
you got to give a shout out to Monty Williams, their coach. He came over there. I mean, this started last year actually in the bubble. That's one of the teams. It was some players and teams that didn't carry over from the bubble.
I think they brought back that young lady who hooked them all up in the bubble and put her on the team roster.
Hey, whatever it takes. But that was the one team that carried over from the bubble to, they were 8-0 in the bubble, and they came in this year. That team was on the brink, and they was ready to go. So we shout out to the Phoenix Suns. Chevo, same question to you. What team has been, wow, I can't believe they playing like this for you in NBA in the first half of the season?
So I looked over it. I'm with Adi. The Suns are very impressive. So is the Jazz. They go for, I think, the 1 and 2 seeds in the West. But the team that most impressed me the most is a team that we had perpetually written off forever. The New York Knicks. Right now, the New York Knicks are 19 and 18. They are the 5th seed in the NBA. When is the last time the Knicks have been a 5th seed in the NBA? If they continue this up and they make the playoffs as a 5th seed, nobody picked that. I know I did not have the Knicks in the playoffs. I don't think either one of us had the Knicks in the playoffs. We didn't expect for them to sniff the playoffs. Right now, their team is averaging 104 points per game. They're playing good defense. You got Julius Randle, first-time All-Star, playing at an All-Star level. He's averaging 23.2 points a game, 5.5 assists and 11.1 rebounds. I think Rose was a great acquisition and pickup from them from Detroit. He helped to bring a veteran and some scoring and things like that to the team. I think New Orleans Noel is playing good this season. RJ Barrett is making improvements and playing good. And I think they're actually getting good guard play from Austin Rivers and Alfred Payton. So that was the team. I almost wore a Knicks color hat today. Not a Knicks fan, but it just was amazing. And just seeing people excited about them actually being back when we thought they were going to be a perpetual cellar dweller for years to come. So that's the team that overall was the biggest shock for me. And then I want to say Brooklyn, but not because that they don't have talent, but one, I didn't expect for them to get Harden, and they got Harden, and two, it seems like they got Kyrie on his meds, and then if they can keep him steady, then Roach had the bold take of the Brooklyn coming out the East, so it looks like that might happen. So shout out to them.
Yeah, Knicks was one of the teams I was looking at too. Tom Thibodeau, like he got the boys. It looked like the Bulls of 2011 actually. I mean, what's going on? The way they play hard, they play defense, they play tough. So yes, no question about the Knicks. I had the Knicks. I also have the Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets, Michael Jordan. A lot of people criticize Michael Jordan for giving Gordon Hayward all that money, but Gordon Hayward has shown the world that he can still play. And if you look at the Boston Celtics right now, it look like they miss him. It look like they miss him a lot. There's no question about it. Terry Rozier is having a big year this year, averaging 21 points a game this year. Kemba Walker, the guy that Jordan got rid of, has not been able to stay healthy since he's went to Boston, and he's been to blame. I'm not blaming him, but he's been to blame of Boston troubles from a lot of people.
He's having like the worst season since his rookie year, Walker.
Yeah, and I know he's hurt, so I'm not trying to, but it is what it is. And then the granddaddy, the prize of them all, the rookie, LaMelo Ball.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year, there's no question. That Jordan has finally done some correct things.
This is his first good pick in a long time.
Since Kemba.
Yeah, since Kemba. But I mean, like, this is by far, because we can all go off of the Adam Morrisons and the Kwame Brown.
Yeah.
This pick, he finally solidified. And it was a quote recently where Jordan was saying that Ball has actually exceeded their expectations to this point of what they thought he was going to be. So, and I was the one who said last time that I picked them, I thought they'd be the 9th or 10th seed in the playoffs, and they're actually currently right now the 7th
seed. Yeah, you did give them some props.
No, I thought
I wasn't
turned out to be what it was, that they might get sneak into the playoffs, so they're doing better than what I thought.
Yeah, and LaMelo started off on the bench.
Yeah, now he's starting now. Yeah. And when he started, I think it's 21.6 assists. Like, yeah, it's just he's just having fun out there. It looks so effortless to him. So like I say, Jordan, he started to build a team, and he's got players that can put some people in the seats now. Yeah. So the Hornets have really shown themselves this year, so I'm gonna go ahead and give them a little credit.
We talk about the Knicks, and we got to talk about the rookie. Quickly, the point guard.
Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah, and then he go to Kentucky.
Yeah, he went to Kentucky.
Yeah, he's been killing it. That boy been putting up some numbers. I got to give him some, acknowledge that guy. And also, the Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs, nobody picked them to be in the playoffs. They're the number 7 seed right now.
Yeah, nobody picked them.
DeMar DeRozan, the only wing player to average more assists per game than DeMar DeRozan is LeBron James. He's averaging a career high 7 assists a game. San Antonio Spurs is really surprising.
DeMar DeRozan was ticked off too because I think Booker got hurt to the All-Star game.
Yeah, they didn't put him in.
They put Mike Conley in instead, so that was crazy.
They should have put DeMar DeRozan.
And that was a knock on DeRozan. They always said he was like the ball goes him and never moves afterwards, and that's why they thought when they got rid of him from Toronto, and so like you said, he's averaging career highs in assists, and so
they should have really put him in there over because they was having a big special about the All-Star snubs. And you know they had Candace Parker on there, D Wade, Shaq, and all them on there talking about that. And they no one mentioned DeMar DeRozan. And I don't think he should have been a first ballot All-Star, but he should have at least been mentioned as a guy that's been doing.
West is really packed. Like for All-Star,
it's tough.
It's hard to get in.
It's tough.
When you look, he's fighting against Kawhi. He's fighting against the point guard in Dallas. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, Luka.
Yeah. LeBron. It's just really hard.
Yeah. But the Western Conference is loaded. It's still loaded. It's been loaded for about 40 years.
Right.
It feels like every year we're talking about how good the Western Conference is, and once again, it's nothing's
40 years.
Nothing's changed. But Utah, number one in the West right now, Utah Jazz. So I want to know. I'm gonna start with you, Shevo. Can you see a situation where Utah could actually knock off the Lakers? Or is there any other team besides Utah that can lock off the Lakers?
Well, right now, I see there's only the top 3 teams in the West the top 4 teams in the West that I see that could potentially compete with the Lakers or the Clippers, because I think those are probably the teams that people think are the favorites, are the Jazz and the Nuggets. Although the Nuggets, I picked them initially to come out the West, they've fallen, I believe, down to what is now the 6th seed. That's over a long period in the season. The Nuggets experienced, some injuries. You had Michael Porter Jr. get COVID. They haven't been getting as good production from their bench and things like that. But I think if they make it to the playoffs, they are definitely a dangerous team, the same way that they were last year. And I think if you put them in a shortened, condensed series, that's where you'll see them probably have an opportunity, especially if healthy, to shine. So I think that, and of course, like I said, the Jazz outperforming everybody, them jumping from, I think last year, they were like the 5th or 6th seed, and now now the Jazz is currently the 1 seed. And so those are the only two teams I see competing with either of the LA teams, which is the Jazz and the Clippers, to have that potential to do that. I mean, right now, Jokic is actually putting up, although the team is not winning, he's putting up better numbers, higher numbers than LeBron. He's averaging 27.1 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 8.6 assists, which is almost a triple-double.
That's crazy.
And he's doing it on 57% field goal shooting. So if the rest of the team comes around him, and they kind of get together within the playoffs, we've already seen Murray drop a 50-point game with no free throws this year. That team is potentially dangerous. I'm disappointed on them, but I'm not all the way out on them. So I see them and the Jazz as being the only teams that can compete with the LA teams.
And Murray is starting to get himself back together now. Murray he was one of those players that was on fire in the bubble, then came into the season and was not playing that well. But lately, and I'm gonna tell you something, that combination of Murray and Jokic is one, that's hard to defend. How can you, there's no way to defend that. How do you defend when they're in the pick and roll? Both of them can shoot, both of them can pass, both of them are very smart. That's just a hard thing to handle.
With the injuries to the Lakers with Anthony Davis, I fully would have anticipated, if they had been healthy, for them to be the number 1 seed and not the Jazz. But the Jazz is just outplayed on a crazy level. And then, like I said, with them having the COVID and the injuries this season, that's kind of what's made them fall back. So
no question. But I expect them. That's like I said about Boston to get back together in the second half. That's one of the teams I could see going on a run in the second half of the season.
And I also think they took a hard hit with their front court because they lost Jeremy Grant.
That was a big loss. That was a big loss.
And Torrey Craig, the trades in free agency. And so I think between the lack of contributions on the bench and then losing those players, that's where we're seeing. So I'm with you. I would love to see them make a run, especially like I already said, I should put $100 down in Vegas and they win the championship. I mean, they come out in West. Then I want to see them because I predicted, but right now I don't know.
Same question to you, Adi. Can Utah, the number 1 seed, actually beat the LA teams, or is there anybody else you're looking at too?
Well, Utah's killing, but the Blazers are my dark horse team in the West. Damian Lillard, he made me sad last month when he hit that game-winning shot over our guy, Lauri Markkanen.
Jump ball.
The man has ice in his blood, man. The guy is poised. He's coming through Dame time, boy. And so you got, in the middle of January, C.J. McCollum, he fractured his foot, and the big guy, Nurkic, he broke his wrist. So they should be back sometime this month. But and you guys talk about Nuggets. Now, yeah, it just seems like Murray and the Joker, they just can't miss. Like they shoot 90% from the field. They always on fire. But Michael Porter Jr., that guy, he should get some votes for most improved player of the year. He's elevating his game. He's a third option. He established himself as a third option on that squad. Utah's Jordan Clarkson, he looks like most likely the sixth man of the year. Yep. He's been killing. And the Utah Jazz is the only team in the NBA that is the top 5 in offensive and defensive rating. They're doing it on both sides of the court. But if somebody from the future came back and told me that a non-LA team made it to the NBA Finals out of the West, like told me the Lakers didn't make it to the NBA Finals, I would say that person would say the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns, because you know what? CP3's teams have been exceeding expectations in the last few years. Mm-hmm. In 2018, his Houston Rockets, they forced a Game 7 with the Golden State Warriors 4 Hall of Fame squad, okay? They was up 3-2 in that series. Of course, they lost. And last season, the overachieving OKC Thunder, they was the number 5 seed in the West, and they forced the Houston Rockets to a Game 7. But I would say the Phoenix Suns is the biggest threat to the Los Angeles Lakers. We got to see what DeAndre Ayton is. He big enough to bang in the paint, but I'm saying the Suns.
Suns definitely got the ingredients. You got the point guard, you got the wing player that can go get you 50, and you got a big man that can go rebound and be a presence inside. And then you got role players around them where, you know, Markel Bridges not only is a three-point shooter, that's the guy that's sticking the best player on the other team now. So I definitely can see the Suns. Both of y'all bring up good teams. Denver, the Clippers. I like the Clippers. Much as I like the Clippers, they need a point guard, and they should have been. Instead of the Knicks, they should have went and got Derrick Rose. Instead of the Knicks, they should have went and got Derrick Rose. Because he would have been a perfect fit. That's exactly what they're missing. So not an all-star, not like a great point guard, just somebody who come and run the show and be another ball handler. Because the problem with the Clippers, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they can bring the ball up, they can run the offense, but that's not their strong suit. Their strong suit is scoring, and I think that's what doomed them last year also as well in the playoffs as well. Like if you don't have another playmaker, also being small, trying to stick Montrezl Harrell on the Joker, but that's a different story. But so I like the Clippers, but I think they need to make a trade for a point guard. Maybe go holler at Toronto and see, hey, what y'all want for Kyle Lowry or something like that.
He's been in trade talks.
Yeah, he's been in trade talks. But Utah, I like Utah. I like Utah a lot. Not to mention, you brought up Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, of course. Jordan Clarkson, but the one guy back, what's how you say his name? The guy that got from Indiana.
Oh, Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich is healthy this year. Joe Ingles, and they're hitting threes at an all-time clip right now. And Mike Conley, who was bad last year, has brought himself back to life. And he actually made the All-Star as alternate, but he has brought himself back to life, and that team is well coached. But and also with the Lakers, they have some questions. Listen, as great as LeBron is, we all know he's the greatest of this generation. There's no question. But if Anthony Davis is not right, and if he ain't healthy, the Lakers are not coming out the West. I don't care. I don't care what happens. They will lose to every team we talking about right now. True. And without Anthony Davis, they will lose to the Jazz. They will lose to the Clippers. They will lose to the Suns. They will lose to whoever. They will lose. They might, I ain't gonna say everybody, but the top teams in the West, they will not beat without Anthony Davis. So the Lakers but assuming they are healthy, I still got the Lakers.
Me too.
I still got the Lakers. I as bad as I want to say, because I like the matchup with Denver will be real intriguing. For the second year in a row, after Denver seen them last year and seen what they had to improve on and see what they got to do.
And the Lakers kind of got smaller losing Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard was a big factor. JaVale McGee. Right. Dwight Howard was a big factor in that Western Conference Finals against Joker last year.
True. The Lakers are still the favorite because they're the champions. But another thing that I didn't touch on is that when you guys were showing Utah some love is that some of the things that I thought was amazing. Mitchell shooting 42% from the field, and he's close to 40% from three. He's like 38% or something. You got Gobert averaging a double-double, and I don't know if this might be the only team in the NBA that has this stat. Ingles and Clarkson coming off the bench, both averaging double figures. I don't know there's another team that has 2 players averaging double figures off the bench. And so that's a team that has 6 players besides the Suns. I think the Suns had 5. They have 6 players and 2 of them off the bench. And then you mentioned also about the offense and defense. I checked, they're actually in offensive and defensive efficiency. The Utah is 3rd in both offensive and defensive. So it's a reason why they are the number 1 seed right now.
That's a tough team, and that's another team that kind of got it all. They got a star player who can go get buckets when they need it. They got a defender who can protect the point.
Got a point guard.
They got a point guard and Mike Conley, who's barely playing point. I mean, he's shooting the 3 crazy, and they have shooters everywhere, and they are well coached. So that's going to be a difficult team to play against in the playoffs because they have it all. There's no question about it. And boy, I know I said Embiid is the MVP of the NBA, but damn it, James Harden right now, if it wasn't for the way he left Houston, he would be the MVP in a landslide. This dude has pretty much transformed his game. Not transformed it but people was all thinking, oh, he's just gonna go over there and dribble for like 35 seconds on the clock. He hasn't been doing that. He's been getting everybody involved. He leads the league in assists, almost averaging 12 assists a game, almost averaging 10 rebounds, and they're still getting his 25. And they're much more efficient. And Kevin Durant has not even been playing the last 15 games or so, I think, somewhere around that amount. And Kyrie Irving, you said it, you touched on it earlier, Chevo. Kyrie Irving since he got back, whatever break he needed, since he got back from that break, he's been unstoppable, unguardable. He's scoring at an amazing clip. So, Adi, is there anybody in the East that can take down the Nets?
Well, you know what? The Milwaukee Bucks. That's the team I'm going with. You know, despite missing Drew Holiday for 10 games in the month of February, the Milwaukee Bucks is still the 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference. And they're not spending all of their energy trying to have the best record in the NBA for the 3rd straight season. You don't get any banners for being regular season champs.
No more.
And so you got Chris Middleton. He is very close to joining that rare club, the 50-40-90 club. He's shooting 49% from the field, 43% from downtown, and 88% from the free throw line. And Milwaukee can make a nice case for him being an all-star snub. And so now the Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks played a very competitive game in the middle of January, and very entertaining. The Bucks was up 1 point with 40 seconds to go, and James Harden, he rebounded his own miss and passed it to a wide open Kevin Durant, who of course hit the 3. And so with 5 seconds left, the Nets was up 2 points, and Chris Middleton stole the ball from Kevin Durant, which set him up for a game-winning 3-point shot attempt from the corner that barely missed, okay? I really like Milwaukee's big 3. You had Drew Holiday had 22 points in the game. Chris Middleton had 25 points. I believe Giannis Antetokounmpo had 34 points. So that's the team. Now, this is my chance where I can change my pick, right? Because before, when we made our picks in the Eastern Conference preview show, the Nets didn't have James Harden at that point in time. And I'm gonna stick with the Bucks. Coming out. We're just hoping. I know Milwaukee's hoping that Kyrie does something detrimental to the team. Just gun out the guys or do something silly. Somebody may get hurt. You know, Durant been sitting out games. Kyrie missed a couple of games because of his shoulder. And so, yeah, I'm sticking with the Bucks.
Yeah, the Bucks have been playing better of late, and Giannis has picked it back. He's picked it this last month or so. Giannis has been playing real good. You can argue him in the MVP conversation because he's still putting up massive numbers. And the Bucks have picked it up. There's no question about it. Chef Ho, is there anybody in the East that can beat the Nets?
Well, I want to say first, I don't want to say Harden is necessarily. I think he's playing like he always plays, but I think the team around him is better.
That's
when you're passing to Kevin Garnett and Kyrie Irving, of course, and you think. We teased about the dribbling, but he did that when the talent around him wasn't as high compared to when he played in OKC when he had talent around him and he didn't dribble like that. So that's my thing with that. But I do think right now the Nets are the favorite after making an acquisition. And I think the team that I think is better than I expected, that I think could challenge them, is actually the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah. I think Adi picked them as like to kind of want to be the breakout teams on our Eastern Conference preview. And right now, Embiid is in the MVP conversation, it seems to be the three people I'm hearing is Embiid, Jokic, and
Harden.
and no, actually LeBron is who they talking about.
Yeah,
but with Embiid, he's averaging 30 points and 11.6 rebounds. He's shooting 52% from field goal and 42% from three. He's a center and he's shooting better from three than some of the guards. He's shooting better than Kelly Oubre and Wiggins right now from 3-point land. So I think that Sixers team is really coming together. I think Doc Rivers gets some props, especially after we killed him for the Clippers and how they collapsed. He's went to that team and has them in the first place in the East right now. And I think they are probably going to be the only true competition for the Nets in the East, because I'm down on Boston. I had Boston coming out the West. Coming out the East, and then Tatum been battling. He said he's been feeling fatigue ever since having COVID. And we talked about the bench. We talked about Marcus Smart being out. We talked about how much they are when him and Brown is off the floor. So I'm actually like, I'm changing. He kept this pick. I'm changing mine. I actually think Brooklyn is coming out, and I think it'll probably be a Brooklyn Sixers Eastern Conference Finals. And I think the Sixers are the team to challenge the Nets right now.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, Shovel. Philly, because of the matchups. That's the one team that can match. They can present the problems to the Nets that other teams just don't have. Like, the Nets don't really have a true big man. I mean, they do have DeAndre Jordan, but it's a different level of going against Embiid. You have Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, I've never been a fan. I can't stand the fact that he won't shoot a jumper. Mm-hmm. But defensively, he might be the best defensive wing player in the league right now.
Wow. He's good in transition as well.
And so you can have him, he's probably going to be the guy that's going to be assigned to James Harden.
Right.
So I just, and Philly's got other pieces. Seth Curry.
Danny Green.
Yeah. That's a team that's dangerous. That's a team that the Nets, they'll play them, but that's a team they would rather not play, because that team will present a lot of problems. And then Tobias Harris. So the Nets, I think they could beat. I would say this: they could probably beat every team in the East, including the Bucks, in my opinion, with just James Harden and Kyrie Irving. But if they play Philly, that's the series where they have to have Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. They have to have Durant. If they don't have Durant, if Durant is not 100%, I think the Sixers might be able to take them out.
Wow.
So that's the one. But I'm sticking with my pick.
The Nets.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my pick. I'm sticking with Brooklyn. Now, when I made the pick earlier, I had no idea that they was going to have James Harden. I still picked them off the fact of them having Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. But now with James Harden, it made me 100% more confident. I wish I would have bet some money on it early.
You bought the stock when it was at its lowest.
Yeah, so yeah. I mean, they were still one of the favorites, but I don't think they're even more favored now when they got James.
And you still got the Lakers beating the Nets in the finals?
Yeah, I do.
I got the Lakers winning and everything. I got the Lakers beating the Bucks in the finals. I got Lakers Bucks.
I got the Lakers
winning in the finals.
But
who you got in the finals?
Right now, I changed from Boston to Brooklyn, and I think it'll probably be.
You had the Nuggets.
I had Nuggets.
Come on, man. Stick with it, man.
You gonna stick with the Nuggets?
I'm gonna stick with the Nuggets for the West, but I'm switching my Eastern pick because I'm telling you, the Nuggets could be dangerous in a series.
Oh, absolutely.
Nuggets Nets in the finals.
That's what I'm thinking.
So who's gonna win that?
Probably Nets with KD.
So you say the Nets winning the championship?
Probably. Now, like Rose said, I was not in on the Nets because they had not had Harden. And because I told you before, Kyrie is not dependable. And so it seems like they got him on his meds and they got Harden. And so now it's hard to see any team in the East beating them. And if the Lakers don't have Anthony Davis and they don't make the finals, then honestly, the Nets might beat the Lakers in the finals too. But just the Nets are kind of overpowered with those three players that they have.
Honestly, like I'm not ready to. I picked the Lakers. I'm gonna stick with him, but boy, that's tough now. If the Lakers and Nets are fully healthy and both are playing in the finals, I just don't. I picked the Lakers, but boy, the Nets that's a rough matchup for the Lakers. I don't know if the Lakers that's a rough matchup. And hopefully when the playoffs start, everybody's healthy, so there won't be no excuses. This person's out, so hopefully we can get that. But yeah, I definitely want to see what happens at the trade deadline. No question. I want to see what teams are going to go after a move. Because you mentioned Denver, I can see Denver possibly making a move. They probably want to upgrade at the wing position. So it's a lot going on in the NBA, and I think it's going to be very exciting. So we shall see. You've been watching Spectator Sporting. I want to thank my man Chevo Rax for coming over here talking about the first half of the season. I'm Zach Roach along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wally. And the next time in between time, we out. Peace.